Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to be doing a video on how to dual boot Kali Linux with Windows. But if you're on a Mac, I believe the process is exactly the same. The process of installing Kali is certainly the same, although the partitioning part on a Mac is a bit different. I can point you to a guide for this, a step-by-step tutorial on the partition element for a Mac if you choose, as you will need to create an EFI partition. If you know how to do that already, then that's fine. This video will still be useful for you. As I said, the installation of the Kali part is exactly the same. I chose to do this video because I've noticed through the comments that a lot of people are using Kali via a virtual environment, such as Virtualbox or VMware Workstation. Now, although this is all well and good and pretty appropriate for testing purposes, when you're using Kali on a more regular basis and you want to get the most from it, you'll find virtual environments have a lot of USB issues, especially with Wi-Fi adapters and such, and also some other minor problems. You'll always get the best of an OS, and that does apply with Kali when you install it to your hard drive. I understand most people wouldn't want it as their primary OS and lose their Windows or Mac operating system. That's why I thought I'd do a tutorial on dual booting, so you'll still have your Windows or Mac operating system and be able to also boot into Kali if you want to. What happens when you restart your computer, you'll have a menu and it'll ask you which operating system you want to boot into. You'll have about 10 seconds. If you don't choose an operating system in that time, it'll default to the top option, which is usually the last operating system that's installed. In our case, that'll be Kali. Okay, another reason I thought I'd do this is that there's a new version of Kali Linux just come out, 2018.2, so I thought it was a good time for it. Okay, let's get on with it. The first thing you'll need is to download a bit of software. None of these are very big downloads other than the Kali Linux image, and I'll be putting these 3 links in the comment section below this video. The first thing you'll need to install is Win32 Disk Imager. This is a tool that will be putting Kali onto a USB stick so that you can install it to your hard drive. You can also keep it on the USB stick and use it as a live version of Kali on any computer you choose to plug the USB stick into. So it's an handy USB stick to keep once you've done it. The next link is obviously Kali. Go to this page and choose to download the Kali 2018.2. The next link is some free partition software. You can obviously choose any partition software you want if there is something you're more familiar with. It doesn't really matter, as long as you create some space on your hard drive and leave it unallocated space preferably. It doesn't matter if it is formatted as NTFS or FAT32 or something like that, but unallocated space will make things a tiny bit easier. If you choose, you can download the one I'm suggesting here, and I'll show you how to use it. Okay, I'm presuming now you've downloaded these 3 things: Win32 Disk Imager, Kali Linux image, and Partition Wizard, Miniature Partition Wizard. Okay, now install Partition Wizard and Win32 Disk Imager. I'm presuming you've now installed those 2 things. Okay, so now open Miniature Partition Wizard. Like I said, if you are more familiar with another partitioning software, then just open that one and just follow the steps that are appropriate. Choose Miniature Partition Wizard in the top left like I just have, and you'll wait for the main Partition Wizard to open. You'll now get this window. This will list all your hard drives and any USB drives or other storage devices you have plugged in. This is the hard drive, my main hard drive. As you can see, I've already got quite a few partitions as I use this for various things. You may only have one partition or even two, where the first one is usually a system rescue type disk or our system type tools. It's usually 100 meg or a couple of 100 megs big. We can ignore that. If you haven't got this, it doesn't really matter. We're concentrating on the main hard drive itself. You want to click it and then right click it and select Move Resize. You'll now get this window showing your hard drive, or the partition part of your hard drive, whichever is appropriate. It will show you your hard drive size and how much space you've used. There's an indication here. The dark blue line shows you how much of your hard drive you're using, and the light blue line shows you how much free space you have on it. Or, as I said, partition, whichever is appropriate. You'll also have these little arrows at the end. When you move them, as you can see, I'm adjusting the free space on my hard drive. As I adjust it, I'm freeing up unallocated space, and this will be indicated here. This is what we'll be using for our Kali Linux install. You'll need at least 20 gig, but 40 gig plus is recommended. So if you can afford 40 gig plus, it's best to do that, but you will need at least 20 gig. Don't use all of your free space on your hard drive, as you'll have problems with Windows. You will need to leave some free space on Windows, of course. So once you've got this configured and you've got some unallocated space left for your Kali install, 20 gig is minimum, but 40 gig plus is recommended. Once you've done that, simply press OK. I'm obviously not going to do this as I've already got Kali installed, but I'll go through the process. OK. As you can see, I've now got some unallocated free space after my main hard drive install. After my Windows install, should I say. This is where my Kali Linux is going to be installed. You simply press apply for it to proceed and partition your hard drive. Press that now. I'm not going to do that, obviously, as I've already got it installed. This may take a while to partition, and it may well restart your computer while it's doing it, maybe 1 or even 2 times. This is because it will need to partition the hard drive that is currently using system files for Windows, so it will need to free the hard drive while it's partitioning it. So once it's restarted and done what it needs to do to partition and get some unallocated space for your install, you'll be brought back to Windows and it'll tell you it's finished. Once that's finished, open Win32 Disk Imager. OK. You'll now get a window like this. On the top right, you'll see where it says Device, you'll have a drop down box. Make sure your USB stick is plugged in that you're going to be putting the Kali Linux onto, and press this box. Make sure first to identify the drive letter that is assigned to your USB stick, and choose that drive letter here. So I'm choosing my USB stick's drive letter. Once that's done, click this icon here that looks like a folder icon. Now you need to browse to where you downloaded your Kali Linux image to. I happen to put mine on my desktop. You'll notice it doesn't show up at first. That's because it's an ISO file and this is looking for an IMG file. So click this box and then click star.star, which means select any file, and then select your Kali Linux image and press open. Now all you need to do is press write. Once you've done that, you may get a window pop up asking you, are you sure you want to do this, as you will be overwriting all data on your USB stick. Just confirm it and say yes. I do believe it may even ask you twice this same sort of question, but in a different way. Just press yes, yes, as you do want to overwrite it, and then wait for it to finish. This can take a couple of minutes to do. Once it's done, another little window will pop up confirming it's finished. Leave your USB stick plugged in and now restart your computer. When your computer is restarted, when you get to your BIOS screen, you may need to go into your BIOS to change your startup items. You need to make sure it's going to boot from USB. If you don't know how to do this, just go into your BIOS. Every BIOS is different, but you're looking for the option to change startup order or boot time order, boot time devices. It'll be called different things, but it's along that type of wording. So once you've found the option to change your boot startup order, make sure your USB drive is at the top of the list, or USB device is at the top of the list. Then save your BIOS and come out of it. It will then boot your USB drive and you'll get to this screen. At this point, if you were perhaps using a USB stick on another computer, you'd simply press enter on live to boot into a live environment. We're actually installing it, so we can use it in dual boot mode. So go down to graphical install using the arrow keys on your keyboard, and then press enter. Next, you'll be asked to choose your language. Choose whichever language is appropriate for yourself, and then press enter or continue, which is on the bottom right. After that, you'll be asked to choose your location. Choose a location which is appropriate to you. Again, highlight it and press enter, or highlight it and then press continue. They'll both work. After that, you'll be asked to configure your keyboard language. Choose whichever is appropriate. Again, highlight it and press enter, or highlight it and press continue, whichever. After this, it will quickly detect your hardware and load any other additional components it will need to install. This doesn't take very long, about a minute or so. Then it'll actually, it'll choose your network. Make sure you've got a running network connection. If you've got using a wired connection straight to your router, it'll go through without a problem. If you're using a Wi-Fi connection, it'll pop up and ask you to choose your access point, just like it would on your phone or other device. Choose your access point and press enter, and then enter your Wi-Fi password and press enter again. After you've set up your network connection, it'll then ask you for your host name. You can call it anything you want. This is the name for your operating system. A lot of people choose Kali. The default is unknown. If you're going to be interested in doing web app hacking or pen testing, you'll find a lot of system admins will actually look for a computer host name called Kali in their logs. So if you are going to be delving into web app hacking, it's probably best to name it something other than Kali, but you can call it anything you want. Type in whatever you're going to call it and press enter or press continue. Next, you're going to be asked to choose your domain name. Again, you can call it anything you want, but if you have other computers in your house or wherever this computer is that you're installing Kali to, then it's probably best to use the same domain. It's usually home. And then press enter or continue. Next, you'll be asked to select a password for the root user, which is the admin in Linux. So put your password you want here, and then put it again to verify it. After that, select continue. After this, it'll auto configure your clock. You won't have to enter anything, and it's automatic. When it's done, it'll ask you to choose your time zone. Simply choose whichever time zone is appropriate to yourself. I do believe the newer Kali Linuxes ask it in a GMT format. If it doesn't ask you this, it's managed to work it out from the location you've chosen, i.e. the location you've chosen only has one GMT time zone. If there's multiple, such as the USA, it probably asks you to configure your time zone in GMT plus what have you. If it doesn't ask you this, don't worry about it. It means it's automatically done it for you. Next step is the most important. It'll ask you to choose the appropriate partition. If you remember, when we partitioned our hard drive using Minitool Partition Wizard, we left it as unallocated space. At this stage, you could just press guided. It's actually called something different, the top option there. It's called guided, use the largest continuous free space, but it is the top option. You just select that. If for some reason you use a different partition software, or for some reason the partition you wanted to use had an operating system on it, or was formatted as NTFS or FAT32 or some other system like that, then go down to manual, press enter, and then select the partition where you want to install to, press enter, and at the bottom you'll be asked what you want to do with it. Select delete this partition and press enter again, and then you come back to this screen. At this point, select the top option, which unlike this image is guided, use largest continuous free space. It is the top option. Choose that. As I said, if you followed my steps here and as such left your partition as unallocated space, all you'll need to do is press enter on the top option. Guided, use largest continuous free space. This is important to get right. Okay. Once you've done that, it will ask you to confirm your options. In fact, it's looking at these screenshots, it's a bit different nowadays. It'll actually pop up this screen first, asking you how you want your partitioning to proceed, whether you want to create separate partitions for the important folders. What we actually want to do is choose all files in one partition. Make sure that option's highlighted. It is the default option, I believe. And then press enter or continue. Okay. It may ask you now to finish partitioning and write changes to disk. Select continue if it does. Okay. In fact, it definitely will ask you that. So once you've chosen finish partition and write changes to disk, press enter or continue. I'm not sure if this one window pops up anymore. It's almost like a double confirmation. If it does, just simply press yes and then continue. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. It's confirming exactly the same thing as it did in the previous window. So once you've confirmed the changes to your partitions, the installation will start. This will take quite a while, so bear with it. If your screen goes black while this is happening, don't worry, it's just your power saving kicking in. So just move your mouse and the screen will pop back up with the installation status. Wait for that to finish, and then when it's finished, it'll ask you to configure the packet manager. It'll basically ask, do you want to use a network mirror, which means when you do your apt install on different packages, if the mirror isn't, if your main repo isn't working to download programs from, it will use another mirror. So obviously here we want to choose yes. Once you've chosen yes, simply press continue. Next, it'll ask you if you want to use a proxy. Just leave this blank, so don't enter anything here. Just press enter or continue. Next, it'll ask you to install the Grub bootloader. The Grub bootloader is the menu that pops up when you restart your computer to ask which operating system you want to boot into in a dual boot environment. Obviously this is important. So I select yes to install it to your master boot record. If you are doing this onto a Mac, it'll actually ask you to install the Grub bootloader to your EFI partition. But on Windows it'll be exactly like this to your master boot record. Select yes. Next it'll ask you where to put the bootloader. These are basically your device names. Your hard drives, your main hard drive will be SDA, and the next one would be SDB, etc. If you've got your USB stick plugged in, which you should have, obviously, it's just installed from it, then that may be SDB as well, or something else. Make sure you choose your hard drive, which is SDA. So choose Dev SDA, and then press continue. And that's it. Your Kali Linux is now installed. And you'll get this window once it's finished. The Grub bootloader installation takes about a minute or two. Once you get this, you're finished. So just press continue and remove your USB stick. Once your system restarts, you may need to go back into your BIOS and change your startup order again, as you changed it before, remember, to boot from USB. You need to now change it back to what it was previously, boot from first hard drive usually. So go into your BIOS and change your startup order so it boots from your hard drive again. Once that's done and you've saved your BIOS and it reboots, you'll get a little screen you get a screen popped up asking you what operating system you want to boot into. The top option will be Kali Linux. You'll have an option under that for advanced options for Kali, and then you'll have your Windows. You can either select Kali, the top option, or go down and choose Windows. You've now got a dual boot environment. You have about 10 seconds to choose this, as I said at the beginning of the video. If you don't choose an option yourself within the 10 seconds, it will default to the top option, which is Kali Linux. So when you turn your computer on of a morning or what have you, make sure you're aware of this and wait for the menu to pop up to choose Windows or Kali as is needed. There you go, you've got a dual boot environment with Kali and Windows, or Mac as is appropriate to yourself. Okay, I hope you got something from this video. Thank you. Please subscribe, share or like.